Hello, everybody. Welcome to this special LP morning show.
LP Morning Show nights.
LPTV morning show nights. Kyle, who's normally here with Doobie, is here. I'm Benji. We got Rebecca, Doobie's wife. Doobie can't make it today, but there's a lot going on, and we kind of felt we needed to talk about it. And we skipped the morning show this morning because things, but stuff came on after that we definitely needed to cover, including that Disney has reached the lowest stock price since October 16th, 2016?
2014.
2014. So
It
in 9
actually
years.
was on pace to be October 6th. I haven't looked to see if it's actually even. It's still somewhere in 2014, but I don't know because it closed well below that low if it's some other date now.
I happened to check. I forgot the year, but I happened to check. And it's still October 16th because it was much lower before on October 15th or whatever. But I don't know, Kyle, you're and you have money at 30. You know investment things. What's going on here?
I have no idea. It's like normally you'd expect either this was like a total trend across the market, which it wasn't. You'd expect if you compare it to its peers, maybe there's some news there. And Netflix got hit, but other media conglomerates like Comcast and Warner Brothers Discovery weren't as affected. I think Warner Brothers is actually perfectly flat for the day. And so the only thing I could find is in Reuters, there was talk about how there was just general, there's a lot of activity on options for Disney, and they were bearish. So it feels like a self-fulfilling prophecy where a bunch of people are betting that the stock would go down. So people sold the stock and it went down.
Those people that own the bearish options are the one who leaked that to Reuters, right?
Probably.
Yeah. It's down nearly 4%. I mean, the percentage matters more than dollars, but 2014, this was a much different company back then. That was 2 CEOs ago.
And we think of COVID being the lows. Now it's below that. It's not just below Chapek's tenure. We thought that it's going to go down, but then it reached new highs since COVID, and then now it's back below those lows. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, the COVID low, I want to say, was like around 115.
I thought it still dipped up. I thought it was like 80 something.
I'm sorry. I was looking at the wrong year. The COVID low looks around 85.
Yeah.
So it's lower than that. And it's just unfathomable because the parks are doing pretty well. There's some questions about sustainability there, and obviously the strikes are happening, but the strikes are also happening so they're saving money on not making stuff.
Yeah, and even like if you're like, okay, the only thing I could think of when I'm trying to go through it is, okay, well, they did the I was going to mess up this thing, but the producers, the big studios released their offer to the writers that the writers rejected. So then you're like, okay, well, maybe Wall Street's looking at that and be like, okay, well, if they are still not happy with this, then how much higher are these studios going to go? Is that going to hurt their profits? But that was released 2 days ago. So it doesn't make any sense or 3 days ago. It doesn't make any sense for that to come now. And, earnings were what they were. The price went up in after hours after earnings. So yeah, nothing really makes sense about this. Like, you're expecting a shoe to drop, and as far as we know, it hasn't. And if it did, like, I don't know how many insiders were getting this information to sell off like this.
Well, and it's sometimes Disney will dip, and then usually it kind of normalizes throughout the day, right? Like, it'll dip and then it'll come back, or it'll go high and come back, but just kept going down. In after hours trading, it's up marginally. And sometimes in after hours, they'll kind of like, people will buy the dip, right? It goes down, so they go, oh, I can get in lower, but that just doesn't even seem to be happening in this case.
It bounced a little bit during the day. I watched this closely because I had to keep updating my article every time I hit a new 52-week low, and I'm sure that there were probably like 24 52-week lows set today. And then at the very end, it actually kept crawling down and then went up a penny. So the 52-week low is a penny lower than the close. But yeah, just crazy.
Yeah, usually at the end of the day, everyone kind of like, I don't know, it just seems to bounce back from whatever extreme it was in, but not today. Just a penny is it's so weird, and I don't, it'll be kind of interesting to see. I mean, I'm not saying there's any funny business going on, but it'll be interesting to see if something comes out in the next couple of days, and you go like, oh, somebody knew something. But
But Netflix being in a similar boat lost off, but I think almost 5% for Netflix, which is another comparable in some ways. So it could just be bearishness in streaming in general. But then, yeah, you'd still expect like WB Discovery and Comcast to be hit. And like I said, I think Comcast was down slightly, WB was flat. So nothing like we've seen with Netflix and Disney.
And perhaps not coincidentally, news kind of leaked today that Disney's in talks with Amazon to be a partner for ESPN.
It's like the fifth company they've been in talks with, reported by the same site. But yeah.
But it probably, I mean, I think it's not so much news that they're talking. I think it's more news that it's still happening. Like the talks are still ongoing because, Disney said they wanted to partner with distribution and leagues, sports content providers, to kind of help buttress the ESPN business as it goes to direct to consumer. And, we weren't sure what kind of reaction it was going to get. And I feel like every time Disney's having a bad day, suddenly it gets leaked. Oh, we're talking to these people. We're talking to those people. And so, I think it's, I don't know what's going to actually happen with ESPN. Obviously, talks don't mean deal, but I think that's the sort of boondoggle around Disney's neck right now. I think it's easy to understand. Okay, they're going to pay for Hulu. They're going to basically have a streaming service. We kind of have an idea of how many people are going to subscribe. We kind of have an idea of how much they're going to pay for it. We kind of have an idea of how much they're going to spend. So you can kind of figure that number. Same thing with parks. You kind of. I mean, there's obviously fluctuations, but you have some sort of idea of what the number is going to be. ESPN, you really don't. That's the wild card here, and I don't necessarily mean that in a bad way. I mean, it could be a good thing, but it could be a hidden surprise. I mean, there was talk of Disney having aspirations where basically ESPN becomes the de facto sports app store, where every sport is there and you can buy the game or buy whatever on the ESPN app. And I mean, that's easy to say, hard to pull off, but if it does, I mean, that could be very lucrative for everybody. So we'll see what happens. But
do you think that these sort of stories about ESPN would be more impactful, or do you think we'll start if and when we start seeing stories about, because Iger said that things like ABC or their linear networks and cable might not be core to Disney, as we start seeing stories about who they might be looking to buy those, do you think those will be more impactful?
I don't think they really care who's going to buy it. I think it matters how much they're going to get for it, because they can do two things. They can spin it off into a sort of another company, kind of like News Corp did, or other people. But what's the value of it? How much? That's the hard part. I mean, if you think you're going to get $20 billion for them, I mean, just pull a number out of two. But like, what? Or is it going to be 15? And I mean, that number keeps changing as cord cutting keeps happening. I mean, viewership is decreasing. It's interesting. Subscribers are decreasing on the cable bundle, but ESPN ratings are up. So it means less people are subscribing, but the people that have the service, and they probably have the service primarily because ESPN's on it, are going to still are watching more. They're watching either more, they're getting more eyeballs, whatever. I mean, I'm not privy as to why the ratings are up, but the ratings are up. I mean, maybe part of it is there's nothing else to watch at this point.
There's lots of stuff to watch, actually.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, is ESPN becoming a bit more of an albatross for them then?
It's been an albatross for quite some time. It's becoming, as the time goes on, it's the question. I mean, I think ultimately the question is it an albatross? What's the value of it moving forward? Disney's desires and is priced at a growth company, right? A company that will not just, pay a dividend and just kind of generate a lot of cash, but not really have anything to do. So, what they could likely do is sell it to some venture capital firm who just wants the money, will slash costs across the board, and kind of like the CW did, right? They buy it because it just still generates revenue. there's probably not a difference. It doesn't need to have the highest quality content there anymore. And so then they'll slash costs. Ratings will decrease, but it'll still pull off a lot of money. And so, if you're just looking to make money, there's still value there. They're still profitable businesses. They're just, for a publicly traded company where you want the stock price to keep going up, it's going to keep going down as long as you own them.
And I mean, and this is just another ramification, for lack of a better word, of what's happened with the marketplace overall. Because I remember over the years covering, ESPN when it became part of Disney, it was kind of labeled the bit of the reason why your cable bill was so high, right? Because we're forced to have ESPN in this package, and people want the sports, and you have to pay, so much money to have it be part of, you won't get it unless you take ESPN kind of dynamics.
Yeah, and I mean, and it used to be in over 100 million homes, and now it's around 75 million homes. So I mean, and the sports rights are going up; they're not going down. So you're seeing ESPN tighten their belt a bit. I mean, ESPN2 is a de facto rerun channel. ESPN News is a de facto nothing channel. I don't even know what's on ESPNU. So they're not going to be able to charge more. They kept charging more and more and more for ESPN from the cable companies. And you paid it because you needed to have cable. Well, now you don't. So unless you really want ESPN, I can just get, Hulu and, Peacock or whatever. And
Hulu does have live sports. I heard that.
Yeah, Hulu does have live sports. And it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I'm sure they have. Bob Iger's not the kind of guy who has no strategy here, right? The question is whether the strategy is going to pay literal dividends or not.
It's interesting because I know in my own home, but I'm sorry, Kyle, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, like you mentioned how Disney is positioned as a growth stock, but does it have to be? Why can't it just become something that's steady? It becomes like a dividend aristocrat instead.
It could, but then it would be priced lower, right? Because you're basically just trying to get a multiple on the dividend. And that's just never been what, I mean, there's power companies, right? Power companies are not huge growth companies. They just make money every month, and, they pay a dividend, and they're great for retirees who just want some cash every month or whatever, every half a year. Sometimes they even do quarterly dividends. It's just not what,
would that be better from you as a fan standpoint? Would that be better for you if they didn't have to worry about, like, Iger's and to a certain point, Chapek both talked about how, trying to serve the whims of the market in the moment is not good for them. So wouldn't that be a better strategy?
I don't think as a fan, I mean, take out your shareholder. I don't think you want it, because you want the parks to be invested for growth, right? You want them to grow. And if they're just saying, oh, you know what, the parks make $10 billion a year, or whatever number it is. And okay, that's great, because in order to get the capital to grow, you need to have growth prospects. And, I mean, that's why they specifically called out studios and streaming and parks as growth engines for the company. And the rest is not. I mean, this is not, I mean, even CBS and Viacom at one point split up, right? Because CBS was just going to be the company, dividend stock, great. And then you had the growth company, and they ended up combining again because the way, entertainment evolved. But, there's talk of Disney doing that, splitting ABC, and maybe even ESPN off to be a dividend company, still make money, and then have the growth units be a second company. That would not surprise me at all. I would not be shocked.
Doobie's asking if what we're talking about would make them also a bigger takeover target.
I mean, I think the consensus right now is any merger is not going to happen, just because the Lena Khan at the FTC is being very particular, right or wrong, not making a judgment. So the political climate for someone to take them over now, maybe merging with another sort of entertainment company, maybe a smaller entertainment company, maybe. I don't think, this Apple rumor stuff, like, I don't see big tech being able to buy Disney. I don't think that they would allow that. At least, I mean, now obviously administrations change, politics change, but at least at this moment, it seems like every merger that's bigger than, 20 people is being challenged in court. And they don't always win. They lost with Activision, but is it worth the cost and hassle to do that? Especially when you're trying to, if you think you're going to go down this path and then suddenly you're told no, then, you lost a year of sort of pivoting ability.
So would you buy right now?
I mean, I always bet on Disney. I think.
And by the way, this is not like official. This is like just you as a fan, as somebody
right.
who
and full disclosure,
not giving it as advice to others.
Full disclosure, I do own Disney stock, but yeah, I mean, I think it's being undervalued on just the minimum core business. I feel like Disney, Marvel, Star Wars has a base value that's not being shown right now, but I feel like, that even in the worst case scenario, it's still worth more than what it's worth today.
Yeah, because I was looking at it thinking, oh, you know what? Might be fun, take a ride with Disney for a little while with a couple of, I don't have huge investment dollars available.
You don't want it to be a little while. It should be a long term.
That's right. Yeah, no, that's what I mean.
This is investment advice. If you're going to invest, long term is better.
Okay, yes, there you go. There's your advice from the guy who actually looks into this with knowledge.
Or there's other ways to own Disney besides owning Disney directly. If you own VU, I think VU is the S&P 500 or the full market. I forget which, but that owns Disney. So there you go. You can also, there's so many apps now. You can just buy $5 of Disney. You don't have to pay the full $85. You can buy $1 worth of Disney.
Oh, that's fun. By the way, you can learn more about that at Money at 30, right?
I'm sure somewhere on there. Yeah, moneyatt30.com.
So do you want to transition to something hopefully a little bit more optimistic?
Something people actually want to hear about?
They announced the D23 schedule for the Destination D23 schedule. Now, I'm going to go through the whole kind of shebang here, and then we can talk about the streaming. So for those of you that want to join at home, you can. So Friday is a shopping day, basically. So the real event, they say it's a 3-day event. It's really a 2-day event with like a check-in day.
And also an exhibit that they're doing. That sounds amazing, by the way. It's a look at the audio animatronics technology. So it's going to be it
was like the first expo where they had the autonomatronics with the Lincoln.
So that's going to be fun. That'll be part of that additional stuff as well. But what's the schedule look like, Ben?
So at 9:00 you have the welcome. That's usually some sort of production number. Celebrating the 100th anniversary of the Walt Disney Company, I am sure. And then at 9:15 will be the Parks and Presentation panel, called this year branded Yesterday, Today, and Tomorrow, which is a great Disneyland book if you happen to find it. And that's going to be hopefully where Josh tomorrow says what the future of Disney parks is. I will point out that it is an hour and 15 minutes. It's scheduled for an hour and 15 minutes, which is a little bit longer than sort of the standard 1 hour that he tends to do. So hopefully he's got a lot to say.
25%.
And we'll find out. Then there'll be a little bit of a break to reset whatever confetti drop they do. And then there'll be some D23 updates with Michael Vargo. It's usually where I talk about the next gift or, expo maybe, or events coming up. Who knows? But, it's just sort of like a state of the club kind of thing. Then you have the early years focusing on Ub, Oswald, and Mickey. And then 100 years of classic characters, unforgettable stories. This is Brett Iwan and Bill Farmer, and we'll be joined by Ashley Eckstein, and they'll do their song and dance for about 45 minutes.
I think Caitlin's going to be there too.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, Caitlin's going to be there as well. Then you have a lunch break, 2-hour lunch break. It's kind of cool and kind of weird at the same time. So National Geographic does like live sort of presentations, seminars, and you have Brian Scary, world renowned. I know this through our Nat Geo coverage, but sort of a whale expert is going to talk for about 35 minutes. So you get a little taste of what a Nat Geo live experience is going to be.
I can speak whale too.
DCL 25 years. Not necessarily talking about just the new ship. I'm sure they'll mention it. That CB Cebosky will be the editor in chief at Marvel Comics. We'll be talking about the Avengers, past, present, and future. He's editor in chief of comics. Don't expect MCU stuff here. This is comics. And then 100 years of innovation and what's it called? Innovation and
it's magic in every medium.
Magic in every medium. So this is some Imagineers are going to talk about a century of Imagineering innovations. Particularly, this is like the Illusion Lab folks. So you'll get a chance to see kind of how they innovate and tell. This is probably going to be pretty cool.
Okay, Illusion Lab. What is, when you say these are the Illusion Lab folks, what does that mean to me as a guest, as a consumer?
So I think there's the people that make the special effects. For example, like let's say the Hatbox Ghost, where his head disappears.
Gotcha.
As opposed to just like sort of a standard animatronic or anytime you see something that's a special effect, that's not just sort of in the normal wheelhouse of what Disney does. And then Epcot, always in a state of becoming, talking about the past of Epcot, as well as the future as it continues its transformation. They also sort of talk about some details from the Marty Sklar archives. And I got to tell you, I got a little bit of a sneak peek on some of the stuff in the Marty Sklar archives, and there's some really fascinating things. I can't talk, NDA kind of thing, but like, I really hope that you can really get a complete new insight into the creation of Epcot. So I think that's going to be really cool. And then an evening event. Now, all the presentations up till 5 o'clock on Saturday are presumably going to be streamed. So you can follow along. And then I'm sure we'll be streaming at some point too to kind of digest whatever happens here. But we're expecting, let me put it this way. It's publicly known that they fully expect to spend more on the domestic theme parks in the next couple of years. So at some point, they got to tell us what's going on.
Just off the top of your head, and I know I'm putting you on the spot, can you think of some of the news that was kind of, broke or was dropped at previous Destination D23? Because I feel like it's happened. So it's not like we're putting our hopes on something that doesn't have any kind of precedent.
It's an interesting question. I know it's happened, and they all blend together to me.
Right.
But so
that's why I was like, I know I'm putting you on the spot. But
for example, like I know that the return of the Tiki Room was announced here at Destination D23, and sometimes it's not even necessarily set. The Phantasmic enhancement was announced at D23. The return. Last time it was sort of in the
yes, it was it was COVID-y, right?
Right.
Like just kind of on that end cusp of the COVID concerns. I believe they were still masking even for the event.
Right. So it's kind of it was a lot of it's coming back.
That's right.
So for example, World of Color return, Main Street Electrical Parade return was announced at the last one.
Okay.
And so it's not normally, I would say it's not, I wouldn't expect as much here normally. Project EXO was kind of teased here too, the Hulk project.
Yep.
But I will say the timing here is a little bit different, right? It's they weren't quite ready at Expo, so, and I don't think they want to wait till the next Expo. So I think you're going to get more here. And I don't want to say, the chatter that we're getting about like the importance of being here from a marketing standpoint, for Laughing Place was a lot more. It was like, no, you need to be there. And
okay.
They're not saying all out like, okay, hey, you need to, what it's going to be huge, but at the same time, they kind of winking and nodding like, yeah, this may be the opportunity. And it could, things could get busted up, but, I think we're excited.
And they've announced that the Saturday presentations throughout that day on Saturday, they said daytime presentations will be available live stream for those who won't be in attendance, because this event is sold out. It sold out very quickly when tickets went on sale a while back. So happy to see that they're live streaming at least the Saturday kind of newsy stuff.
I'm looking back at our past coverage, and the Galactic Star Cruiser lightsaber, the real lightsaber that was unveiled.
Okay.
And then some other big things. The trailer for Disney Plus's Foodtastic, and Di Capella performed an Epcot medley. So,
It's funny how sometimes, you look back and you're like, oh, wow, what an announcement. And then you look back like 5 years later and you're like, oh, yeah, that ended up not being as big of an announcement as I thought it was going to be.
So what do we have happening on Sunday?
So you have a studio showcase, and this is an hour and a half, and this is, to me, fascinating, right? Like, you're not going to have celebrities, presumably. And so, what are we going to learn? And this is not live streamed, which is perhaps intentional because they don't live stream clips and trailers. But I would expect a lot about Wish. I'd expect a lot about the Marvels, and all the things that are sort of already in the can that we expect in the next.
Do you think any big stars will be there?
No, none. I mean, maybe like the Wishing Star.
The goat, the inspiration for the goat.
So to me, it's like, how are they going to fill an hour and a half without the sort of requisite, the joke where they go like, Johnny would love to be here. So he is. And then he comes out. Yeah. Like, obviously they can't do that, but, and then 100 years of Walt Disney Animation Studios. The heads of animation for Wish are going to go through the history, get a bit of an ambassador game show, the classic Weird Disney event where the archives goes back and finds some really weird things. Lunch break, the road to 1923, Walt Goes West, another archives presentation discussing the Don Hahn discussing the sort of journey to create the Disney Brothers Cartoon Studio. So it's like pre-100, it's like 120 to 100. The Disney You Didn't Know. This is the famous Kevin Kern and Stephen Bagnini from the Walt Disney Archives sharing some things that you may not know about Disney. And if they think these are guys that kind of you trust, like if they think this is interesting, it's going to be interesting. This isn't random stuff. And then 100 years of creativity, a playful look at Disney imagination. So Imagineers Diego and Jason, who most of people attending have probably seen at something or other, are going to go through some of the lighthearted moments of Disney through the last 100 years. So probably, a little bit more fun and jovial to kind of end the day before we come back for a Disney Plus Hollow Stream costume bash.
Fun day. I'm disappointed that they're not going to live stream the Down the Rabbit Hole, but you guys will bring me images and footage, which they allow, if with what they allow to leave the event. So I'm looking forward to hearing about that.
Well, it's funny too, because like you can tell that they moved. So like Saturday is all basically public stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's comic books that are out, history of Epcot, things. The weird stuff that they may not want out is all on Sunday, and probably not inadvertently.
Right.
So now we will be streaming in here somewhere.
That needs a Leonard Maltin intro.
yeah, the stuff that for those that attended D23 last year, Destination D23 last time in 2021, you may remember a moment that they're pretty happy that they weren't live streaming.
Can't wait to end this stream and hear about that.
No, wow. I don't remember this. Okay, cool.
I wasn't there.
I would tell you, but I don't want to get anyone in trouble. So that's is anything that jumps out to you, Rebecca?
Well, I mean, of course, the Disney Cruise Line. I always enjoy hearing anything about the Disney Cruise Line. But I'm very intrigued by this hour and a half for the Disney Studios without kind of the firepower available of celebrity artists. So I'm intrigued. What do you think, Kyle? Where are your eyes falling on this schedule?
My eyes are falling to the fact that I'm going to have to get up at 8 a.m. on a Saturday to cover the DPEP panel.
And the studios panel.
Always thinking about the work, huh? Come on, where's the fan in you? What you looking forward to, fanboy?
Well, I mean, I'm looking forward to the DPEP as well.
Okay.
But yeah,
Okay.
studios, well, actually, I mean, I guess they might announce more because they don't have stars, but there's a morning break afterwards. So I guess there's no guarantee they actually need to go an hour and a half. They can just move that morning break up a bit.
In my experience, though, most of these things are scheduled very short, and they always go long. Like the breaks end up getting condensed dramatically because they tend to go long. I'm not convinced that they're going to get through Weird Disney in I'm trying to find it in 35 minutes. I just don't buy it.
I'm interested to see if maybe they give you a large sample of Wish. Like didn't they do that with Princess and the Frog at the original expo, ages ago? So
yeah, the first half hour.
Yeah, just to kind of, really build up that enthusiasm and excitement, in part because of right now with the inability to kind of have the talents out there to hype it. It'd be a good way to generate that buzz because people will talk about their own experience to each other. So,
you know what else would be big news? If they announced they figured out Gigantic and they're moving forward with it.
I would love if there was just something fun, like an Oswald, like bringing Oswald back, just like some fun announcement that means nothing to anyone outside that room, or outside this community.
What are you hoping to hear out of DPEP?
Something
Anything?
material.
Something that can keep the site excited. Something to give us, so we're not just trying to find variant covers of Marvel comics.
Something that's not a Mary Poppins spinner.
Might we hear more about what to anticipate with the return of Phantasmic Dragonless?
Maybe. I don't know. I wonder because it's like, is that something that unless they have something amazing, like, is that something you want to bring up?
Yeah, and not in a Florida crowd.
Yeah.
Oh, that too.
I think also too this evening event is still there as evening event, whatever that is.
You don't want to spoil the fun.
So since we're talking about this, I have a question. They teased two projects, exactly, DB. They teased two projects at Expo last year. What's Beyond Big Thunder and Dino Land. Which are you more excited? Like, which, if they only could pick one?
I forget which properties went where.
What's that?
I'd say Dino Land though, because, well, I guess then you're replacing something versus building new area, but it's Dino Land, so. I mean, you can keep Dinosaur still. They could just annex that.
I would very much like to see an expansion for Magic Kingdom. Even more so than Animal Kingdom. And I mean, and I know Animal Kingdom could use it, especially the change over there. But no, I would very much like to see Magic Kingdom swell. And it feels like I feel like it won't take as much to, well, but no, I mean, but on the flip side, the challenge with that though, on the flip side is that Genie Plus already works much better in Magic Kingdom than in any other Disney Parks resort to my way of thinking. And Animal Kingdom, if it had more attractions, then Genie Plus, I think, would be more beneficial there. So I could see where that would, be a bigger benefit to focus on.
So speaking of the archives, they announced that their Heroes and Villains, the Art of Disney costume exhibit, is going to be going to Birmingham next February 17th through August 18th. And I actually, now this exhibit kind of soft opened at the D23 Expo, not the last one, the one before. But I haven't seen it actually in an installation yet. Just timing never worked out for me. So So
This is Alabama, not England, right?
I just presumed Alabama, but now that you say it, that's an excellent question.
These are some images that we took of when it was it Seattle that
Yeah.
it was previously. So these are some of the items that were on display during that particular moment, and that Hocus Pocus, Pirates of the Caribbean, Santa Claus, and then reaching back to the original, Mary Poppins and more recent Mary Poppins as well. So yes, we've got coming to the Birmingham.
PNC. I don't think they have PNC in England. So I
Yeah,
think
it's Birmingham, Alabama.
Okay.
So it's Birmingham.
You can tell because they didn't do the 17th of February. They did February 17th.
Through the 18th of August.
So
I love how Benji just had this dramatic pause of let me check. Oh, I was like going to show a little video while we talked about it.
When I drive to Florida, there are 2 routes I could take through wildly different states, and they're only like 3 or 4 miles apart. So before I figured out how to like look for this, there'd be times where I'd be driving back from Florida and I'd want to go through like Tennessee, and then all of a sudden I realize that I'm entering Alabama, and I'm like, oh well, I guess that's how that works.
Because you're the only. Never mind.
Yeah, because if you stop at a gas station, it's like, well, now you're going to go through 4 states you didn't plan
on. So speaking of projects, we can go to the park that Disney doesn't own, Tokyo Disney Resort, Tokyo Disney Sea. We got some more details about Fantasy Springs. Now, Kyle, you sort of are Tokyo expert.
Expert. Wow, that's strong. Yeah, so we got a bunch of more details about what these attractions actually are, and we got some names for them. So these are 3 new ports of call. If you'll remember, Fantasy Springs is 1 port, right? Is that what it is? And then, but there's 3 sections to it. So it's not 3 ports.
It's like a mini land. It's like a land with mini lands in it. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the Peter Pan attraction. Poster.
I'll just let you, Kyle,
cool.
I'll just let you talk, and I'll show images while you talk, since I'm not sure what order these images are in.
Oh, well, I should pull up the article so I can actually, I don't remember the names of the things. So I'm enjoying this art, and I want it on my wall.
Isn't it though? It is stunning. I will agree with you. With
lands within lands, right now.
Yes, and
this is really pretty. This is another. So there's like, even the Peter Pan one's also kind of like subdivided between like pirates and then the fairy world, the Pixie Hollow. Thank you. So some more great art. This is the hotel that will be attached to it. So you got Miracosta on one side of the park, and then you're gonna have this hotel on the other part. And then there's just more of that hotel, which looks so good. And it'll actually look like that. Unlike American concept art, it'll look like that in Tokyo. Isn't that crazy?
So
yes, I took the Disney Resort line kind of around this site, and it just looks so cool. The one thing I don't know, basically, there's a pirate ship Peter Pan ride. It's going to have 3D glasses and everything. And I'm surprised. Like, is Peter Pan's flight at Fantasyland is that destined to be replaced?
I don't know. It's not my favorite.
The most unheard of thing to have 2 attractions based on the same franchise, but.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what they're going back to, the expansion potential of Walt Disney World. I feel like they're downplaying the Moana connection at Epcot if they want to put some other Moana in a different park. I feel like there's still a lot of Moana in it when you see like she's there and it's like Tafiti and stuff, but they feel like in terms of the marketing, they're really downplaying that to be like, oh no, it's just inspired by Moana. It's like, okay, but that's because you want to put more Moana elsewhere, and it'll be weird to have it too spread out, right? Anyway, back to this. There's the overview. I think we've seen this before. I don't remember how new some of this stuff is. And this is the Tangled area. There'll be a Snuggly Duckling. That's the one I remember, is that there'll be a Snuggly Duckling restaurant. And in the Frozen area, there's the Oaken's OK Food or something like that.
Yeah,
Yep.
Okin's okay food.
It's food from Oklahoma.
But so the ride in Frozen, is that going to be basically like Frozen Ever After?
We saw the ride vehicles, didn't we? And they were a little different. They are boats, but I would imagine that it's going to be Frozen Ever After, but on a grander scale. Like it might have a similar story, but I would imagine that it's going to be different enough, based on nothing except for knowing Tokyo. Yeah, let me pull up the article so I have a better idea of what
So
I'm actually.
it says in Anna and Elsa's Frozen Journey attraction follows the story of the film, so it's not Frozen Ever After. Kind of takes place after the film.
Yeah, but I'm sure you'll see some similarities in some of the. Hopefully, these will be more like the Hong Kong ones. They won't be the projection faces.
Yeah, probably.
You guys really don't like the projection faces, huh?
I appreciate what they try. I just don't think it works in that attraction. I think it works in other attractions.
Okay, so you're not just against them across the board. It's just not that.
I think it makes sense for Buzz Lightyear or something, but yeah.
Yeah, there's something weird about that because he has the helmet, so he doesn't need to match skin tone. When you see the drastic transition between their face and their neck is weird to me.
How about the dwarves? Does it work for you in Mine Train, or have you
like twice?
Yeah.
But,
okay.
Yeah, that doesn't bother me either. I think just because they have the beards for the most part.
Okay.
It's just, and I don't know. Maybe it's just the way the angle, like the way you see them, like they don't mask it well enough.
So I should actually share the names of these things. So the different sections are Frozen Kingdom, Rapunzel's Forest, and then Peter Pan's Neverland. And so the Frozen Kingdom will have Anna and Elsa's Frozen Journey. And then the Rapunzel ride is Rapunzel's Lantern Festival, which already sounds beautiful. And then, the Peter Pan one is Peter Pan's Neverland Adventure.
Yep.
And this one has 3D glasses. So take that.
I love this art though, like that color purples and like raspberry colors.
Mm-hmm.
Very appealing to me.
Kind of matches.
Just one more reason we're all going to want to go to Tokyo.
Well, and all the Asia part. So we know Zootopia is coming to Shanghai Disneyland in the next couple months, sometime before February. But then we also got Frozen. The World of Frozen's about to open in November in Hong Kong Disneyland. We got a little bit of an update from them today, as Anna and Elsa decided to take a visit to their home. And
what do you think?
I think it's pretty. Like I say, I was just in Hong Kong Disneyland, and it's amazing to see the North Mountain just like behind the castle, kind of blending in with the existing mountain that's behind the park. So I just think it's really pretty. Obviously I don't know exactly how it feels to be there, but in terms of just snapshots and sort of imagery, I'm excited. We only have it really here at Epcot, which is sort of a, it's not really, they didn't create Arendelle, they just created a port in Norway, like an attraction entrance, which makes sense for Epcot. But having a fully realized frozen land, I'm excited to see at some point.
Oh, did you see Doobie? I'm starting to call him the CTO around here, the Chief Technology Officer. If this is their home, is Maelstrom coming back to Epcot?
No, just the movie.
Aw. It'd be funny. And now you must watch the movie. That is the only thing here. What everybody used to skip.
So Arendelle is expanding its kingdom to Hong Kong. I'm sure no one will have any problems with that.
You had to go geopolitical, didn't you? Anyway.
Well, I was thinking, is that the opposite of global warming? So I went a different way.
The sun never sets on the Arendellian.
Well, because it's also coming to Paris, right? So there's going to be Frozen everywhere. Tokyo, Hong Kong, Epcot, just Disneyland. Disneyland's
I mean, it only took 10 years.
It's at Storybook Land.
I mean, sure, but
Remember
It is.
Olaf's snow adventure at the former Millionaire Building, now
Yeah.
soon to be the former.
I
Avengers
was just in there. I was just in the Avengers Superstore. I don't know what it's called, but that's what I called it.
I got
I
to
think
go
it's
on
called
a
the
little
Avengers
toboggan
Superstore.
in the snow.
It's very warehousey.
Yeah, well, we'll see what that new store looks like, the one that they're building in the actual Avengers campus. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine it's not, a huge site. So
That's
but
something that he could tell us in DPAP is one that they specifically told us they were not working on the e-ticket when they were building the gift shop. Maybe he could tell us when they are starting work on that e-ticket. That sounds awesome.
yeah, it does sound awesome. I can't wait.
By the way, talking
Or to
about
get
awesome
canceled.
and Avengers Campus, the carne asada pretzel. Yes.
I want that. I
So
don't know
good.
what it is, but it sounds good.
So good. It's one of those nice big pretzels that you get over at Pim, and then they put beautiful carne asada, and then they've got like a sauce. It's a little cilantro-y for me. I'm one of those people where cilantro takes on a bit of a soapy flavor, so I could have done with not quite so much of that, but it had some peppers on it, and one of them, I guess they didn't remove all the seeds on it, because seriously, my eyes started watering, my face got all red. I was there with my friend Anita. She's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I just didn't expect this kind of heat on a theme park item." I'm like, "I'll be okay in a moment." It just took me by surprise.
It's kind of crazy how much theme park food has changed since when I'd go as a kid, and just every third place had burgers, and then another ones had chicken. They all just had stayed in their lanes, and it's kind of still that way at Disneyland Paris. They're starting to catch up since they got taken over by Disney, but they still have a lot of those. This place serves pizza, this place serves the same pizza, this place serves barbecue.
Yep.
Well, we should wrap up, but I think you guys are going to be on again tomorrow morning, right? So
as far as I know, but you never know what's going to happen. And
then we are scheduled to have a walk and talk over at the Experimental Prototype Community of tomorrow.
Yes, we do. And so because of that, be sure to subscribe, hit the bell so that you get notified, because today we were over at the Magic Kingdom, walking around, taking a look at what's going on, checking out some of the princess fun, because it's World Princess Week. We checked out the progress happening at Tiana's Bayou Adventure. So we gotta
secured herself a new gig, I hear. I hear you secured yourself a new gig, because Doobie said you were better at that than he is.
Oh no! Oh really? Oh okay. And then I popped back on about an hour after that and talked about Ahsoka with Mike Celestino, our Star Wars editor. So you can check that out if you missed it. So yeah, be sure to hit subscribe and stay tuned on all the fun stuff we got going on here at Laughing Place.
Really, really knows how to sell it.
I know, right? Yeah, I need to teach y'all how to hype.
Clearly.
A lot going on that in the next couple weeks. So
yes,
please follow us on all the socials too, and get the news as we get it, basically most of the time, and or as we're allowed to talk about it. And we will see you soon.